last time that I played that intro was on the very first episode. And tonight, on the JFDI podcast, 8 p.m, Thursday night, I've played it again. Can I just say, first of all, before I introduce you to this evening's guest, a massive, massive thank you to everybody that is watching just now, to those that have watched any of the previous 49 episodes of this podcast. Tonight, because you've been watching and because you've requested a variety of people and you've kept me going, tonight it is my absolute pleasure to introduce episode 50, 50, half century. It's as many episodes old as I am years old now. Fantastic. So I'm going to introduce you to this evening's guest, who happens to be a ex-pro boxer, a boxer who went by the name of the Spirit, which is a little bit of a clue. And it's been all over social media who's on tonight anyway, so it's not a big surprise. However, known as the Spirit whilst he was boxing, then after retirement turned promoter, boxing manager, media personality, a pundit, indeed on the Toe-to-Toe podcast, it was called, which was where I actually I met my guest for the very first time. And at that point in time, we did a little bit of an interview, and for the Saturday Night Fight Club, and we chatted on there. It was a great interview. Anyway, roll the clock forward. Due to my guest's attention to detail as an analyst and a historian of the sport, he earned the nickname The Knowledge. He now co-hosts a podcast of his own with his friend Tunde called The Fight Is Right podcast. And boxers throughout the ages in the sport, he's interviewed them all, from Mike Tyson to Roy Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather, and right up to date with the Gypsy King, Joshua, and my all-time favourite, the Dark Destroyer, Mr. Nigel Benn. Tonight's guest, let me introduce you very, very shortly, because I'm going to do another countdown to the one and only Spencer Fearon. Back in a little sec. I'm teasing you tonight. I'm teasing you. So we're having a bit of a technical issue at the moment. I'll call it a technical issue. It's always all technical issues. Spencer's not with me in the green room just yet. However, it gives me an opportunity to blatantly plug what else we've got going on over the next few days. Obviously, the JFDI podcast rolls nicely into the JFDI radio show on a Friday night on Regal Radio, as regular listeners will know. However, this week I will still be live at 7 p.m. on Regal Radio. I'll be playing a selection of songs with a great theme. I've decided in the truest of traditions of applying JFDI. I'm actually going to be playing a full EP at the beginning of the show tomorrow night. It's three absolutely bouncing tracks. Well, two bouncing tracks, two that you will be familiar with. They're very much in the sense of the artist in the band that he used to be in, a band that he left quite acrimoniously due to events that were happening in the public at that time, and he's now back with a new EP. He's on tour again, and I'm going to kick off with the three songs from the EP, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what about the themes in the song, but actually we're going to continue the theme of moving on throughout the radio show. So I'm really looking forward to it as well, and I may or may not be playing one of this evening's guest songs. Who knows? You never know. You've just got to tune in, listen to the radio. As we know, the reason that we do this as just talking is that we kind of run into problems with the old licensing if we play music, and then we play the music and we have a little bit of chat on the radio show. So that's how it works. But the other thing that I'm super excited and actually kind of a little bit scared about as well is but a good fear is the Goggins challenge that I'm doing, that starts tomorrow night as well. Kicking off at 5:30 with a 4-mile run. We'll do the radio show at 7, and then at 10 o'clock, and then every 4 hours for the next 2 days afterwards, I'll be doing a 4-mile run called the Goggins Challenge, under the for Force Forward, and kind of raising a bit of money for Red Cross and the Ukraine sort of stuff that's going on over there. So guess what? Enough of my chat now. Somebody has joined me in the green room, and so he can hear me now. We've already done an intro, but I'm going to do another one. Please say a big welcome to, used to be called the Spirit when he was a boxer, turned promoter, boxing manager, media personality, pundit when we met at Sky on the Toe to Toe podcast. And because of his attention to detail, I mean, there's not many that know their history of the sport like this man. Earned him as an analyst his nickname as The Knowledge. He's interviewed a whole raft of boxers throughout his time as an analyst, from Mike Tyson, Roy Jones Jr., Floyd Mayweather, Gypsy King, bringing it right up to date, Anthony Joshua, and my all-time favourite as well, Mr. Nigel Benn. If it's to be known about boxing, this man knows everything there is. But guess what? He's coming on tonight to talk. We will talk boxing, but we're going to talk tunes primarily. Ladies and gentlemen, please say a big high G's welcome on the JFDI podcast to Mr. Spencer The Knowledge Fearon. Good evening.
How you doing, my friend?
I'm very well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Even better for I mean, I ain't seen you in a hot minute. I see your progress on everything that you're doing, Graham. So you know what I mean. I appreciate you. You know what I mean, it's been a long time since we used to be both at Sky together. So you know, it's cool, and you're still pushing on. I remember back then you were doing your interviewing and stuff like that, your podcast, and you're continually doing it. So you know what I mean, high G's, man. Just keep on doing what you're doing, man.
Thank you. That's very much appreciated. I just said this is in this incarnation, What we've been doing here, we started out with like ex-forces guys, and we've kind of spread the net out, and I've just been. It's a celebration of a sort of JFDI mindset about just doing it, regardless of what reservations that you have about your ability to do it. Just push forward, like you say, and just do it. So it's an honor to have you on. And yeah, episode 50 tonight. So fantastic. Thank you for coming on. Brilliant.
No. You see, no, man, I'm grateful, man. So cheers, man. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you. So can I ask you a question? Have you been on a podcast? You've done so much in the way of media. Have you ever spoken about tunes? Have you ever spoken about music?
No, not really. I'll tell a lie. When I was at Sky, somebody interviewed me on something. At one day, I've got to turn on this power. When I was at Sky, somebody interviewed me. Oh. Don't know what's going on there, mate. Yeah.
That's all right.
I ain't got a clue what's going on there. So yeah, when I was at Sky, somebody interviewed me to talk about music and and the correlation for music and the things of my childhood, but not really. It hasn't been that much in depth,
Yeah. And so that's a little bit about why I do it here as well. I think there's there's a lot of podcasts on the go at the moment. I adore music, and for me it's something that kind of it ties everything together. Everybody has their favorite songs. Music plays a big part, and a bigger part in some people than other people's lives. But that's kind of the idea is that we talk a little bit about these tunes. So we should just dive straight in. And yeah. I adore the choice that you've. So I must say, for the viewers, that you're the first person to actually very quickly. You've given me 3 songs. Most people will get in touch with me and say, Graham, I can't limit this to 5. There's so much music in my life.
No, I gave you 3. I could have given you more, but I didn't even see. I didn't even properly read the question. So my apologies, Graham.
Oh, no, it's okay.
I could give you loads more, but I'm saying for standout songs for me, the ones that I chose are the ones that I chose.
Yeah. So the first one is a Bob Marley and the Wailers song, "Sun is Shining."
Yeah.
So what does this what memories does this conjure back for you?
The memories that it conjures up for me, there was a Bob Marley compilation album, and I just got a DVD player. I remember just buying a DVD player. So we're going back to 1992. I bought it, right? So yeah, 1992. What am I at the time? I'm 19 years old.
Yeah.
And I just bought a stereo system, and yeah, and I don't know my partner. To tell it was the partner at the time who I was with. She bought it for me as a present.
Ah, right. Okay. Was that Legend? Was that the one? Legend.
No. It was no. She bought me the the
stereo. All right. Yeah.
Present. She bought me the stereo, and it was like, yeah, what am I going to listen to? And I remember going out buying loads of CDs, and I bought this compilation, and it had the old version of The Sun Is Shining, which had some ridiculous bass line. I was just heavily listening to for the bass on songs, and it was that song that I would constantly listen to. I just loved it. And then subsequently 5 years later, when I turned professional in 97, that was my ring walkout tune. Was that song. So that's why that song always resonates with me. I love that song.
Oh, fantastic. So that was your ring walk song on your pro debut as well.
My pro debut. June 27th, 1997 on the undercard of Herbie Hyde versus Tony Tucker, and that was for the WBO World heavyweight title. So yeah, and it was also the same night that Mike Tyson famously beat Evander Holyfield's ear.
Oh, crikey!
Yeah,
Yes,
it was that night. Yeah.
it was that
it,
night.
it was that night. So it just stood out for me. Really did stand out for me.
Correct me if I'm wrong, and you'll tell me if I'm wrong here because you know this stuff. Was that not the same night that in Manchester Nigel Benn fought Steve Collins?
No, it wasn't the same night.
Wasn't it? Was that the second?
Yeah,
Tyson?
because that was the second Holyfield Tyson. Yeah, that was the second Holyfield Tyson when he got bit on the ear. The first Holyfield Tyson is when Holyfield knocked out Mike Tyson in an epic fight. So yeah, I've just seen a guy, Bobby Wright, just ask a question to say like, did Lennox Lewis come out to that song? No, Lennox Lewis came out to Natural Mystic, and he also used to come out to Chase Those Crazy Ball Heads by Bob Marley. So those are the two songs about Lennox Lewis. But Lennox Lewis really made Chase Those Crazy Ball Heads massive. He made that song massive. It was big anyway, but he made it massive because that was his tune that he'd come out to.
Yeah. What would we're on ring walk tunes now? What would you say is the most epic ring walk you've ever seen?
The most epic ring walk I've ever seen wasn't by a professional boxer. It was Apollo Creed versus Ivan Drago in Rocky IV when he came out to Living in America with James Brown. That changed the whole game.
Yes, it did.
It did well for me. It did it. I was like, oh my goodness gracious, what am I watching here? That, as far as I was concerned, was incredible.
Yeah, most boxers have one nickname. You've had two. Apollo Creed had how many?
He had loads. Yeah, I remember that.
The Ayatollah of rock and roll, the king of sting.
Yeah.
You could
the
go
master
on.
of boxing. Yeah.
So what kind of things, if you think back to that time in the dressing room before you walked out for your first pro fight, what sort of stuff's going through your mind?
Oh, you crap yourself. Anyone who says they're not nervous when they do that ring walk, you're lying. Yeah, I absolutely. Yeah, I was so nervous, but I didn't actually feel nervous. But other people were coming to me after and saying, "Yeah, you were really nervous." And when I think about it now, in hindsight, I was really nervous. But thank God I actually won my pro debut. I remember coming back. Charlie Magri, former WBC flyweight world champion, was my trainer. I remember running around telling him, I'm an undefeated pro. I'm an undefeated pro. I remember running. Oh, and that was the fight was in Norwich. I remember running around the Norwich Village Stadium telling everyone at the arena, I'm an undefeated pro. Like, yeah.
Fantastic. So that's it. Yeah, that nerves though. It's that's got to be good. And there's a lot of boxers that will say that I think Lennox Lewis famously who slept before fights, but that nerves is good, right?
Of course it is, because it's the nerves that keep you sharp. It's the nerves that keep you focused. When you're nervous, that gives you that you're constantly thinking. You're on it. I think anybody says they're not nervous, then I reckon you're at the tail end of your career, right? Or you're actually just a journeyman. But if you have aspirations of saying you want to go and do something, you are going to be nervous because there's so much banking on you getting those wins. And sometimes, like in hindsight now, I can look back on my professional career when I was boxing and I'm like, yeah, essentially I was a gym fighter. If you were to speak to guys who would spar with me, I'd beat out most guys when we sparred. And that's the truth. But then for some strange reason, when it came to fight night, I think sometimes nerves or I put too much pressure on myself or whatever. But, ending of the day, I've left boxing with my faculties. That's a major thing because lots of people don't touch on the pugilistic dementia, which is rampant in boxing. I know many guys who I came up with now who are suffering from mental health issues. I don't believe that it's not just a fact of like you're suffering from mental health issues because you are depressed and everything else. I don't think it helps much when you're getting punched in the head. I'm just going to be 100. So it is also about the renewing of your mind, constantly renewing of your mind. You know what I mean? And how you renew your mind is by constantly learning. So when you're avidly learning new stuff, that's the thing that keeps you going, that propels you forward. But when you stop learning new stuff, that's when you it gets a little bit more tricky for you.
Yeah. So was that what you mentioned there about the how you performed in the ring? Was that was that in your mind? Was that anything to do? Because you retired after 17 fights, right?
Yeah.
So what was the what influenced the decision to retire at the
No, you know what? You've got to be real with yourself, right? Because when you're turning pro, you think, I'm going to be a world champion. I didn't want to summon in the title, right? But because I've been very, very fortunate, I was very, very fortunate to have a really good sponsor from Bush Hammering Company, a man called Duncan Campbell. God bless him. I love that man. Emphatically, up to this day, we still keep in contact with each other. I had another guy called Danny Mardell from Ryko Boss, who, and seriously, when I mean I was looked after, So maybe that kind of takes away your desire a little bit as well, because I was getting tons of money a month time from these two gentlemen. Right, enough to pay for my home, enough to pay for the, it was that. So you're kind of comfortable.
Yeah.
And when you reach a certain level and you say, well, you know what, this is it's not working out how I envisioned it to be, then you got to be realistic to yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And then the reason being why you can walk away from it, because I remember my last pro fight, I trained with Babatunde Ajayi, who's now training at the yard. And I remember bringing Tunde into the game. And Tunde said, what? I said, yeah, I'm come, let's work together. And I remember I trained hella hard. I trained so hard. And I came second best. And I said, you know what? I can hold my hands up to that, because there's loads of things that I can go and do. And I've been fortunate and been blessed enough, you know what I mean, that I'm a very, very fortunate person. So I don't land on my luck. I'm just blessed. So certain things just happened for me. So certain things did happen for me, which I'm amazingly grateful for. So,
Yeah. And like I said at the beginning, you've kind of gone on and multifaceted. You've moved on from boxing to becoming a promoter and a manager. You've done so much in there as well.
Yeah, I've done a little bit, man. Like I said, you know what I mean? Like I said, I'm just amazingly grateful. When we ran our gym, the Raw Fight Club, as we were running the gym, I'm grateful to be. I was in the heart of the city, so I was in Liverpool Street, and the plethora of men who were working in that financial industry helped no ends, because they show you moves, they show you how to get things off the tax breaks and everything else. And everyone said, Spence, why don't you go promote? Because all of the fighters. And I knew everyone. And I remember bringing Nassim Hamed and Lennox Lewis down to the gym, and they had a muck around spar together. And then I was on the front of the boxing news class. And then from then, certain guys were coming to the gymnasium, who guys were working at Deutsche Bank, Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, go for the whole list, Royal Bank of Scotland, who were big traders. They were all like, oh, they were gassed by it. Oh my God, Spence! You had Lennox Lewis and Nassim Hamed down there. And someone said, yeah, we would like to involve you, form a company, we involve you in buying the rights, image rights to professional fighters. And I was the first person in the UK to ever do it. I don't know if it's been done after me, I don't know. But I know that I was the first person. So I sold image rights to fighters, and I got a lot of tax break money from it, a lot. It's nearly £3 million. And that enabled me to start Hard Knocks. Me and my business partner, Kieran Baines, my brother from another mother. And we it was a wild time. So we started Hard Knocks Box Promotions, and we got a couple guys who winning up a couple titles, and Darren Hammond won the British. Troy won the featherweight prize fight. Then he challenged for the world title out in Singapore. And Larry Kandai won prize fight. Craig Nick Chatto won the English title. And an obscure world title in the WBF, but we don't really count it as a world title. But for him being this Albanian guy, bringing like manic support to the shows, and then Nathan Graham won a Southern Era title. So I was really fortunate. So like in the space of like 18 months, I made like 6 champions. So everything was like going from there, and it was just building and building and building. And I did a stint at Satanta Sports, where I did their online show, and then from there I ended up at Sky. So I'm grateful, my friend. Yeah. Really grateful.
Well, like you say, it's just gone from one thing to another. In regards to everything that you've done, from childhood through to your career and after retirement, what would you say is the biggest challenge that you've ever faced in your life?
The biggest challenge I've ever faced?
Yeah.
Being a father.
Above and beyond everything else.
Everything else, nothing else. I'm telling you this now. Being a father, settling with one woman, having the raising children.
Yeah.
That to me is that's the biggest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I mean, and the biggest challenge as well, because it's challenged me as a human being not to be selfish with my time. And it's like, I'll come home and my children will be there, and my youngest, it's like, I'm really fortunate. We've got a lovely 5-bedroom home. And when I'm down the stairs and then she's got a playroom, it means a lot that I've provided my children a playroom.
Yeah.
And I try to sneak past her playroom to go upstairs to my room, and she'll like, "Oh, Daddy, can you come and play with me?"
Yeah.
And I'll never ever say no to her, ever. I'll sit down and I'll play Lego. I'll play with her Barbie dolls. I'll play with her Peppa Pig dolls and her toys. And it's like my 5-year-old. It's kind of weird. I got 4 children, but my 5-year-old daughter, she's looking at me like, "What are you doing now playing with? Get out." But my 3-year-old, she's always like, "Daddy, can you play with me?" And I'll never ever say no to her. So those are the things like, and don't get twisted. I'm not this homely person. I'm not this. I count my blessings. Like I said, we got a beautiful home together. I'm not that person that's gonna be scrubbing floorboards and I'm not that guy. Forget about that. My thing is like, look, Daddy earns the money. That's the rules. But no, when it comes to like spending time with my children, and growing them, that to me is the most challenging thing, but also the most rewarding thing.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes to kids, they obviously look at their parents as role models. What would you say the most important thing a role model can give? You touched on time there, I could not agree more. I think
that's what I was going to say time, but I'll say quality time. Do you know what I mean? Quality time. Quality time more so to let your children know that they're special, to let your children know that they can accomplish anything that they desire. Like I said, I've been very, very fortunate that I can work. I got an office in my house. I can work from my office in my house on the stuff that I'm doing with MTK Global Foundation. I can work from my home. Not a lot of people can do that, right? So if what you give to your children, it's not what you give to them, more so what you leave to them is what you leave inside of them. And if you like, my son's 10 years old, and I got props Dylan White. Dylan White's my long time friend, and it's like, look, my son's started to do sit-ups now. My son's 10.
Yeah.
And he's started to do sit-ups. And he's doing sit-ups constantly. He's constantly doing sit-ups. And he's not seeing no results. So he said, I don't want to do this no more. Right? And at the time when he said that, it kind of just took me back. And I was saying, like, it's you got to keep on doing it. And it's like, no matter what, like loads of people they see on TV constantly and all this shit. It's like there's not a day that me and my son don't go out where I don't get stopped by somebody who wants to talk something to me. But to my son, he doesn't see that. He just sees you're my dad, and you can be a prick sometimes, right? It's kid, right? This is truth. Yeah. So I said, hold up a second. So I phoned Dylan. I said, no, Dylan, I have a word with my boy on FaceTime. He sat down and fair play. Dylan's got a big fight coming up, him and Tyson Fury. And he must have took about 20 minutes out just lecturing my son about reason why you want to be doing your sit-ups. And you'll see the results. And I'm trying to explain to him, like, it's not what you do right now. All you're doing now is just putting money in the bank. Yeah. So, like I said, those to me, those things are amazingly rewarding. Those things are important to me. Like to see how they grow. And I've been very, very mindful of certain things that I say around my children, because the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and they're going to become a reflection of you. Those things to me, that is the most challenging, but also the most rewarding thing.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, no, I love that, and I like the. I like that whole. There's a great analogy there. That's you talk about your son with sit-ups. It's quite easy for people to give in. Especially in today's society. Life can be comfortable. Getting the reps in is important. And this when you learn that as a youngster, that's great. About just not giving up, like you say, that it's all money in the bank. Success doesn't just happen overnight. You don't go to bed after a few sit-ups and wake up with a six-pack.
No, you don't. And it's even worse. It's like when they look at old pictures of me, like my daughter Tyler was saying, "Daddy, when are you going to get your Batman belly back?" I said, "That's not coming back for now." Whatever. Daddy's old now.
Yeah, not easy at all. I've never had one. I don't know. Is 50 too old, do you think?
No, it's not. I'm 2 years away from 50 right now. So no, 50 is not too old at all. I don't. But you know what? The realization is when I sit down and say to myself, "Wow, I'm getting on there," and you become more reserved in certain things. There's times where I'll punch you in your face, and I'm like, I can't be doing that no more. I'll pull my back. It's not the same.
Yeah, it catches up. It catches up with us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Old father time. Yes, indeed. So that's your biggest challenge. This might be a difficult one. What would you consider? So it's kind of twofold. I'm more interested in the second part. But what would you consider throughout your life as your biggest failure, and what did you learn from
it? My biggest failure. You know what? I can't really put it down to say what was my biggest failure, because I actually don't look at life like that. I don't take those L's. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I couldn't say that. What exactly? You know what I mean? Seriously, because when they say like what don't break you makes you stronger.
Yeah.
Then I know like I haven't been broken of yet. I could say there's been certain relationships that I've had with people that have gone south, right? And yeah, I could openly speak about that now. So I've had certain relationships with close friends that and I would say that's been one of my failures. But then the mere fact that I could look at it now as an adult and you take you look at things from a different angle.
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I'll say like off of that. Then I'll say that like I remember I felt like with a family member, and up to this day, we haven't spoken in about 5 years. And usually I can fall out with people, and it's never been my fault. Like I hold myself, it's my fault. But on this here, 1,000,000% it was my fault. And this was somebody who not only were they a family member, they were same age group as me, and we were so close. And now, like my kids don't know his kids, and that's hurtful to me. Especially like now, like we move on, and it's not about the big house and the car, and those things help. They do help, but it's not about that. It's not about when you think like, oh yeah, well I'm famous, or that don't mean nothing either. But it's like it's the relationships that you can maintain, especially like you can fall out with somebody, and especially like on this, I can 1,000,000% say that was totally my fault.
Yeah.
So that if I was to look and say, yeah, that has been one of my biggest failures. That there, and the fact that I couldn't maintain that relationship, and sometimes your ego can surpass your personality, and I think in that case, there it was my ego that surpassed my personality.
But you've let,
But they know, the same person knows, and you never know, they could be listening. There's nothing but love, and I'm very, very proud of them, and I know they're proud of me. So it's one of those things. But I know like we'll never speak to each other again.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. And I think that in itself is a kind of moving on. Some relationships, they kind of drift apart. Is what it is, right?
You know what it is, but I know on this case here, then it was because like I've got friends of like one of my closest friends who's like godfather to my children. One of my closest friends is one of my mates called Country, and we are really, really close. We've been friends since we're 3 years old, and we're still friends. So that is like a 45-year relationship that me and this guy's had. You know what I mean? And it's one of those kind of ones. And it's like my children call him uncle, and his daughter calls me uncle, and it's for real, and it's nothing but love. So when you are that kind of way inclined, I don't have. If you're my friend till death. And what happens also is like, as you know, as soon as you become a dad, as soon as you start growing your family, as soon as you have your misses and everything else, things kind of they're not the same no more. You kind of grow apart because they're not actively in your life like how they were the first times out when you were young. But as you grow older, you start to see things differently, and you concentrate solely on your household.
Yeah, life.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, definitely so.
How's about we move on to your second song?
Okay.
Which is "Battle" by Wookie.
Yeah.
I listened to the songs. The reason I asked for them before we start is because I love listening to them. Love listening to the songs before we get going. And this one's quite a new one to me, but enjoyable. So, what is there a story with this, or is it?
Yeah, there is. It was like that was a garage tune, and you got to remember, like mid-90s when garage was just taking over everything, and I love that song, mate. I just seriously, it was because it was a garage song, but it was called a battle when it was talking about not giving up, and it was kind of like Anglo-y kind of religious based kind of song, and it was that song touched me. Never a fight tune that I came out, never like ring music that I came out to. I really, really felt that tune. It was like, yeah, I loved it.
Like proper battle. Never give up. Now that's
never.
Never give up. Never give up. Okay, so on that one, I have to ask this one. In regards of the fight game, what would you say? This can be from a Rocky movie as well, if you want, or it can be a real one. What would you say is the greatest battle you've ever seen in the ring?
Greatest battle that I ever seen would have been, what was it? 1991. Yeah, it was 1991, December 15th. Mike McCullum versus James Toney. Technically, one of the best fights I've ever seen, which I will constantly keep on seeing. That was for me. That was, yeah, for me that was one of the greatest battles that I've ever seen, I've ever witnessed. But there's loads of great fights. You can never talk about great fights and not talk about Hagler Hearns. You can never talk about great fights and not talk about Gatty Ward. There were great fights. Jose Luis Castillo versus Diego Corrales. Never fantastic fight. That 2005. Never great fight. So we've seen some, but I'm a skills guy. So when I see two great technicians doing their work, to me, I'm not trying to outmaneuver guys. What I saw with Mike McCullum and James Toney, I would say to any young person, go and watch that fight and you'll see. It was an incredible fight.
Yeah, see, now I know you're a skills guy. I've got some quick fire questions towards the end. I know you are, and you'll love them. You'll love them as well. But this is the JFDI show, and we kind of celebrate, let's say, that JFDI mindset, that sort of, push yourself out your comfort zone. Because if you don't push yourself out your comfort zone, life will find a way of making life uncomfortable for you. Then it won't be the discomfort that you want, right? So, somebody I know he might be on the show this evening. Once said, "We create who we want to be out of our own genius imagination." So, can you talk a little bit about that quote?
that quote was actually Marcus Garvey, who was, it was actually Marcus Garvey, but I use a lot of Garvey. He said, "God and nature first made us who we are, then out of our own creative genius, we make ourselves who we want to be. Follow that great law, put God and the skies as our limit and eternity our measurement." Right. So when I will roll with that of what Marcus Garvey, because you got to think about it, everything that has been invented has come out of the genius of someone's mindset. Everything that we see around. I mean, the cars, this computer, this microphone I'm talking on, even your glasses that you're wearing on your face, it's come from the genius of someone's mindset. Your beautiful set behind you, someone had to think of that to say, right, we're going to go put that. That's our God-given talent and right as a human being to express and to bring forth like our creativity. So when we're seeing this thing, you have to realize how great it is of our creative genius. Our creative genius it's amazing. Right. So when I say, if you don't step forward, you're always going to be in the same place, because you will always be in the same place. Yeah. And sometimes it's just to get over the thing of that fear factor.
Yeah.
Right. Was it Bob Proctor who recently passed away? He was saying fear stands for fear stands for was it forget everything and run, or face everything and rise? So let's rise. So yeah. So, but
I don't know if it's. I don't know. Have you ever heard a song called "Fear," or actually FEAR, by Ian Brown?
No, I haven't.
So check it out. In fact, I won't spoil it. It's just very clever, very, very clever. Many would say his best song. Very, very smart, very well done.
Right, 1 second, I'm just going to put this in my thing right now so I can get it. Fear by Ian Brown. 1 second.
Yeah. Whilst you're doing that, I'm gonna bring up. We've got a few people watching and made a few comments tonight, so I'm just gonna bring them up. Malcolm said, "Great choice for the first tune, epic, total legend." We have Bobby said, didn't Lennox Lewis come out into that song as well? Oh yeah, you mentioned, you said
Bobby. I've got to big up this guy, Bobby Wright. He's a true supporter of anything that I do. Now I'm doing a podcast as well with Tundi Ajayi. The Fight Is Right. Just a real guy he's in the military as well. So I've got so much time for him. So big up Bobby Wright.
Oh, indeed, yes. A lot of the viewers on here, because I'm ex-military as well. We've got
ex-military, yeah.
Yeah, ex-RAF. So yeah, we've got a lot of ex-forces viewers.
Okay.
A lot of my guests are ex-forces, and we've even had a few that are still serving. So yeah, that's this is where it all came from. This is where it all sort of came. It's where it all started. Let me see. We got a few other comments there. I think Bobby's maybe a suggestion there for one of the greatest battles. Ben versus Gerald.
Gerald McClellan.
Yeah.
That was. I'll tell you when it was. That was February of '95.
Yeah, February 26th, was it?
Yeah, 1990, and it was at the London Arena.
Hey, are you impressed?
Yeah, I am impressed by you. Well done. Yeah, that was very good.
I remember that fight for obviously so many reasons. That tragic.
You know what? After I get off on here, Graham, I'm gonna go watch that fight. You know, I'm gonna go sit down with a hot chocolate and a biscuit, and I'm gonna watch that fight.
Do you know Incredible. What? I might just.
I'm gonna reminisce of the old times. I'm going to watch that fight.
Brilliant. Yes. Well, do you know what? I think I will do the same. Let's ask you this. Kind of ties life back in with boxing. A lot of comparisons are made between like a boxing match and life. Lots of them in like Rocky movies, but a lot of kind of comparisons on memes and kind of, quotes by boxers. What would you say? Which one sort of resonates most for you, or is your kind of favorite parallel drawn between a boxing match and life?
No, boxing is life. More than life, boxing is the universe, as far as I'm concerned. Right? Right. No, it is. Boxing represents the universe. Boxing represents the key element of human nature is the female, right? And the struggle of giving birth. And how many kids you got, Graham?
Two girls.
Right, two girls. And you were there when your wife was giving birth, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. And that of giving birth, it is the most, esoteric, and it's profound. It's a lot of things all wrapped up in one. And when you see that, you think to yourself, that struggle,
yeah,
but the victory is something else. It's like I remember, like when my missus gave birth to my second daughter Tyler, and I was in the room, and when she gave birth, it was like the pain and the struggle that she was going through. It was ridiculous, right? And I can't really fathom. I just know that you were in pain, right? But then to see the child come out and just the female's response to the child, how she wants to hold that child and like, oh, come here. You as a father, tell the truth, I was a little bit jealous, right? I ain't gonna have that one. Yeah, I ain't gonna have that because I didn't carry the child. Your dad, they're gonna know, all right, my dad. But that bond,
yeah,
that bond should also be the bond which the parallel of this being like with a boxing match, it is that no matter what the hardship is, right? The victory isn't the fact that you got your hand raised at the end, right? And the defeat isn't because you didn't get your hand raised. The victory and the defeat is down to your mindset of saying like, I'm going to participate in this. It's a participation that is the victory. Loads of people don't get this thing. We think like, like I say this many times, I say this to you when you're down in the sky. You know what I mean? That we say to ourselves, if I have this, this, and this, and this, then I'm gonna be happy. Not knowing that, you know what I mean, the life or the success or the happiness of life isn't the destination, but it's the journey.
Amen.
So it's that perpetual movement forward. And once you never say to yourself you're not quitting, then there are no results because you ain't quit.
Yeah.
And that's the key thing. So for that, the correlation of life when it comes to boxing, something like this sport of boxing has been absolutely everything to me as a child. And then as you grow up, it's everything. And then you get into your adult, you become an adult, it's everything. And then you have children and it's not everything anymore.
Yeah.
Seriously. But you can't express it being everything or not. You can't express that because people still going to look and say, no, it's everything. And I say, well, you don't really know me when it was really everything to me.
Yeah.
But then you realize, like, right, your happiness is not about having this, this, and this. Your happiness should be every conceivable second that you are here on this planet.
Yeah.
And once you have, right, exactly. And once you take that into consideration, it all changes. Like I said, everything changed for me once I had children.
Yeah.
I started to look at life way different.
Yeah. I totally get it. The fight, the fight starts the day you're born and it never ends until the day that you die. It's
right. It's like, if you know, like on silly facts, like it's the appreciation. And once you truly appreciate what's going on, then you can't take nothing for granted. It's like, I remember somebody said to me ages ago, like, when you're taking your first breath as you're being born, someone's taking their last. And it don't really dawn on you. It doesn't really dawn on you until you lose a loved one, right? And it doesn't really dawn on you properly until you start sitting down and say to yourself, well, how important is breathing? Because the average human being takes 20,000 breaths a day, right? Right, and we don't really quantify it because we don't think of it as anything, yeah? But if I said to you, this is going to be your last breath, then watch how smoothly or how you're going to be breathing for your last breath.
Yeah. Do you know, it's an interesting one. I'm going through the process of, have you heard of Wim Hof?
Yes, I have.
So I'm in the process, just waiting for a date to go out and finish the instructor training. So I do a lot of breath work, cold exposure, and stuff like that with people now.
Swimming underneath cold water.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. I've not done anything in the realms of some of the records that he's broken through, like swimming underneath, around the Arctic through thick layers of ice. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in sort of the cold, but like you mentioned, the breath work as well. It's so I've become fascinated with it because it's like you say, it's the one thing that we genuinely can't live without. You can go without food for like some people over a month. You could go without food. You can go without water for days, but you can't go without breath, like you say.
No, you can't. Right.
You can't go without breath.
Right. And the more appreciation that you express is the more the more abundance that you experience. Yeah. Right. And it is like this thing called gratitude is major. And once you show that appreciation, that gratitude, that appreciation for the little things, those little things mount up. You know what I mean? So when we're sitting there saying, "Oh, everything's going to be like," there's a karma value to it. There's a karma. There's got to be a karma to it. Yeah, there is. There's karma. There's retribution and everything that we do, right? But what I truly believe, and I reckon that I'm a big advocate of this, is the fact that once you learn to express this gratitude, just opens up the door for you to express and to be the recipient of more what you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Right? Seriously. And you know what? I can say this because, like, right now, my mother's 88 years young. and
Wow.
and yeah, she's in hospital right now with cancer.
Oh,
Right, so no one don't really notice that I'm just coming out. Right,
yeah,
and and when I'm looking at that, I'm saying to myself, like, I appreciate so much. I appreciate the fact that I can be in the hospital and I can sit down with you and I can talk to you. I can appreciate you. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And I do appreciate you. And just to sit and, I mean, I lost my dad 17 years ago. So for me to be able to be sat with my mom
mm,
and feed her and talk and we're saying little, you know what I mean?
yeah,
And just tell little jokes and she's laughing her head off till she's crying. Then you're
yeah,
gonna, you know what I mean? I appreciate you. But what I also realize that people never really die. They die when you forget them.
yeah,
That's the cut off point. When somebody's like, "All right, I've forgotten you," that's when you're dead. People only
mm,
die when you forget them, and your
right.
loved one, you don't truly forget them. So yeah,
This was it's quite remarkable to hear you to speak just exactly that, because again, this is one of the reasons that I started to kind of build this ex forces community and do these podcasts and kind of organized reunions and stuff, because I'm 50. A lot of my, sort of ex forces, sort of friends, ex colleagues that kind of managed to bring back together. We've lost folk along the way. We've lost people way, way, way too young. None of us are getting any younger, and it's looking back, like you've said, and actually keeping the memory of those people alive. That actually, I've said, as long as we're still talking about these people and some of the
they're not
stories and
dead.
some
They're not
the
dead.
things, they're
I'm
not,
telling you
they're
this
not.
now.
They're with us in spirit, and we'll keep the memory of them 100% alive. So yeah, I feel that absolutely. So thinking about what you say there about gratitude, what would you say is the best piece of advice that you've ever been given, and who was it from?
The best piece of advice that I've ever been given was from my dad. Right, that's the best. Seriously, the best piece of advice was actually from my dad.
Yeah,
And old Jamaican man, and I'll break it down to people who don't understand patois. But he said to me like, the man with shit out road, I remember same shit out road, but the man was stepping at it, meaning that somebody could defecate on the road and they don't give a damn that they've defecated, but
yeah,
the person who steps in it is gonna realize that somebody is shit on the road, right? Quite simply saying what my dad was trying to say is like, just be careful of what you do because everything has a repercussion, right?
got you.
Right,
Yeah,
everything has a repercussion. So if you understand what energies that you're giving out, if you're putting out nasty, petulant, arrogance, envy, hatred, despair, that's what's coming to look for you.
mm,
But every time, like if you're putting out love, you know what I mean, faithfulness, happiness, joy, you know what I mean, camaraderie, bravery, that's what you are going to see actively in your life.
yeah,
So I understand it, and even more so now. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm maybe 50 now. I even more so now believe it because there's an old saying in Jamaica that if you can't catch Kwaku, you catch him shot. Meaning that if I can't get you, I'm going to get the closest thing to you.
yeah,
Right? So I'm saying, well, if I'm just giving out love, happiness, joy, and I'm going to do right by people, I'm going to have my way to help people,
yeah.
that's what's going to come back to me. And even if I don't get it in my lifetime, my children will get it because it's just what I've invested.
Yes, yes. That kind of almost came to me like a bit of a penny drop moment. A few years ago. And exactly what you said there, I've kind of also realized to look at it just slightly different there is that actually when you're on the receiving end of somebody that's not behaving particularly well. When you're on the receiving end of it, I've now realised that actually it kind of says more about that person and how they feel about themselves than it does about how they feel about me quite often.
Yeah.
They maybe just don't realise that. And actually reconciling that in my mind, it kind of makes, because sometimes people can be, they can lash out, they can be, like you say, and it says more about how they really feel about themselves a lot of the time. So
Of course it does.
yeah. Yes, I love that. Absolutely love that. And so, could you just repeat that the patois? Now, I've got a couple of lines of patois. Karen and I, my good lady wife, we went to Jamaica for our honeymoon to Ocho Rios. Absolutely adored my time there. In fact, we said it's one of the places that we wanted to go back to. And I'll never forget the taxi driver that we had out there, John. Don't ask me why I remember his name, but I do. He was a character, and every time I got in the car, he used to teach me little bits of patois. But the one that sticks in my mind is not one that I can repeat because it's a little bit rude.
Okay.
It's that one, yeah, bamba, that one.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
That's not nice, is it?
No, it's not. But
So yeah. So
don't say it around my mum and you'll be fine.
No, I wouldn't. You notice how I didn't even finish it. It's yeah. No. So the patois that your dad said, I understand the whole explanation and the breakdown, but just to hear it one more time.
My dad said the man was shit I road. I remember saying shit I road, but the man was stepping on it. No, somebody shit I road. So that's yeah.
Yes, fantastic. Good advice. Very good advice.
Yeah.
Okay. So before we move on to your last song, and then I've got, if you're okay for a little bit, for a few minutes longer, I've got some quick fire. But I've got a couple questions here that are interesting. So something about Spencer Fearon that very few people know.
I'm actually autistic.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, but if people who are around me would know. Hence why I can pull fight dates it's because I'm on the spectrum of autism. I got diagnosed about 2 years ago, but people who knew me knew, and it was my missus that said, "Let's go get checked." The ring go check. So it's like So there's different forms of autism. You know what I mean? But when you're on the spectrum, but yeah, I'm actually autistic.
Well, wow, there you go.
So you got something that no one else knows, but now you know.
Yeah, and how are you? How are you with that? I mean, you clearly deal with that fairly well.
It's you know what? It's kind of cool when once you've been diagnosed with something, so then you know, like, right then, what are the solutions to it?
Yeah.
It's just all it is that I coagulate things far more differently than other people. I don't want to say normal people because I don't think nobody on the face of the planet Earth is normal, right? But and then what are we quantifying normality with? But that's
Wow. Okay. So one more question then, and it's again in the vein of normality. What is normality? But what's the craziest or the weirdest thing, the weirdest experience you've had in the sport of boxing?
The weirdest experience I've had in boxing.
Could be anything. It could be something that's happened.
You know, I tell you what it's like. My partner in legality on our show, Tony, says, like, Spence, you got an amazing black book. Well, I just know everyone in the sport. So growing up watching guys who I mentioned earlier, like Mike McCullum, Roy Jones, Sugar Ray Leonard, Lennox Lewis, Mike Tyson. I go for a whole list. I'll say the craziest thing now is like the guys who I used to idolize as a kid, who I idolize as a child. I can now class them as friends. I speak regularly to now. So I think that now, when I think now, that's kind of crazy. I'm looking back now, I think that's crazy.
Yeah.
But mainly because like I was never one of these people who, because you're a celebrity, I'll be like gassed by you because you're a celebrity. I was never ever that person.
Yeah.
But I'm a respecter of anybody that's done anything. So when I would see these men, these great men, do what they did, and now I know that they're my friends. They're at the end of the phone. We speak regularly, and the nicest thing is like, especially like Lennox Lewis. He works on PBC now for the shows out on Showtime in America. And just before he's going on set, he phoned me to give him a rundown of the fighters and that. And but I props him because he told everyone I'll go to Spencer, my little encyclopedia. So like that's it's kind of crazy now. Like I said, it's kind of crazy because I have the plethora of professional fighters now, and I'm not a kid no more. So these little young cats who are coming up as well, they'll be phoning me to say, what fight should I be studying right now? What should that means a lot to me. So that's kind of crazy now. It's crazy because certain times you don't want to admit that you're getting older, you're becoming this elder statesman. You don't want to admit that at all. But I'm actually enjoying the fact that I am actually an elder statesman, and like these little young cats now bring me up and call me uncle. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. Actually, that's brilliant. I've seen some of the like FaceTimes and stuff with Lennox as well, and it does. It's kind of. I mean, it must just be, like you say, it must fill you just full of, like you say, to know that they're friends. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay, last song. I played this twice tonight because I adore Sam Cooke, and what a great choice in A Change Is Gonna Come. Get quite emotional listening to Sam Cooke quite a lot of the time. What's the story with this song?
Story with this in 1990, my uncle was staying with me. My uncle Harper, my mom's brother. He was staying. He was. I don't know why they called him Harper. His name was Wesley, but his nickname was Harper. So everybody called him. So he's like Uncle Harper. So he was staying with us. He was staying with us, and he had loads of records. I was never really into Sam Cooke. At that time, 89, 90. I'm 16 years old.
Yeah.
And my uncle's got all of these records, so you start playing them. And I said, I really like this stuff. But something that really evoked emotion in me was listening to Change Gonna Come. And it's only when you get older that the song was actually about racism, right? But I was just thinking that song was about somebody going through struggles, irrespective of their skin tone. There was this guy through a struggle, and it was a change is going to come, meaning that you have to have supreme optimism. But the change can only truly come if you do things to change it. I love that song. I really, up to now, I listen to I'll get off here, I listen to that song. I love that song so much. It's mad that it's like Barack Obama used that when he was campaigning to become president of the United States of America. But it was a very, very powerful song.
Yeah. If nothing changes, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love that. Yeah, what a song. I have played Sam Cooke, I think maybe once or twice on the radio version of this. So I got the radio show on local radio. Because what we do is
what's your local radio that you're on? What radio station? You gotta give that a plug. You gotta let people know.
Regal Radio. Oh, Spencer, I do it all the time. I think that my viewers on here are probably sick of me talking about
No, you got to talk about it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, Regal Radio it is. Sort of West Lothian. It's just here in Scotland.
Okay.
It's all online. So yeah, I do the show 7 till 9 on a Friday night and play songs and kind of some of the the jingles. It's about inspiring action. It's about encouraging people to change things about themselves and just go after stuff and It's that sort of like, because if you don't do it now, you know, what are you going to do? You regret it when you're, you know, taking that last breath. Just go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, look, there's one of my good friends, tunes in quite regularly. He said more plugs than curries. So we've got to, though. We've got to. All right. Are you ready
Go
for
on.
a bit of a quick fire?
Yeah, that'd be the last thing we do, and I can call it a day. But yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, right. Okay. We'll make it quick. Your favorite boxer ever?
I haven't got one,
Okay. That's cool. We can move
I'm
on.
gonna quickly tell you why. Reason why, because I just enjoy the sport so much. But if I had to choose somebody, then obviously it would be Muhammad Ali.
Yeah. Okay. Two fights. The best that you've ever watched. So you've actually, I think we mentioned that, and the best that you've attended.
Okay, the best fight that I've ever attended was a fight that I promoted. It was Troy Trim Pro versus Asiku Jackson. What was that? That was 2012 at York Hall, Bethnal Green. That was an absolute barn burner. Go and Google that fight or watch that fight on YouTube. You think, yeah, that was the best fight that I have attended. It was incredible. Or then, I'm gonna go with that one. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. These Ben or Eubank?
Oh, I love both of them. It's really difficult. No, I'm gonna be real. I love both of them. I do. I love both of them.
Yeah, you can do that. Here's one. Calzaghe Lacey. That was a good fight. That was a
incredible fight.
Yeah. Yes, that was the epitome of one American coming over to beat up one of our guys.
One-sided beating that was.
Total beating. Yeah. Okay. One to watch. So one for the future. One that we can keep our eyes on. Up and coming.
Up and coming fight. One to watch. There's quite a few. There's a young man from London. Called Sugar Shy, Shiloh De Freitas. I would say that's the kid to be looking out for. He's
perfect.
Very, very welterweight. Yeah, Sugar Shy, they call him. Very, very talented young man.
All right, we'll keep an eye out. Okay, swerving away from boxing, just briefly. Favorite food?
Favorite food? I love eating oxtail with rice and peas.
Rice and peas, good old Jamaican.
But oxtail is the best thing ever. I'm just gonna. Yeah. When I was a kid, I used to hate it. So yeah, but And the thing about it is, I'm really trying to cut out eating meat, but I'm a sucker for oxtail with rice and peas.
Favorite live gig, because it is a music show. Favorite live gig that you've ever been to?
I've been to a few, but recently I was in Dubai last year. I was in Dubai, and Stormzy performed in Dubai, and because he's South London, but he was putting up loads of pictures and murals of the area where he grew up, and like our favorite local West Indian takeaway was up there. And I'm in Dubai, and I'm seeing a Blue Jays calf up on a wall. That was mad. It was like in a big stadium. There must have been about 30,000 people there. And for me, that meant a lot to see where Stormzy's come from, and to see him in Dubai. And I'm seeing all of these little kids out in Dubai knowing his songs verbatim. I would have to just salute that. For me, that's the most favorite. And I took my friends' children to go and see Stormzy, so it was nice. And afterwards, they got to meet him. So yeah, that was cool. So I got to big up Stormzy because he showed them mad love, and that's made my ratings go up even more.
I love it. Your favorite film?
My favorite film? Yeah. Godfather 2.
Oh yes, good choice. Somewhere you've not visited that you'd love to?
somewhere that I have not visited. Was it the Maldives?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, because I went out to Bali a few years ago. It was incredible. I've traveled a lot. I did a lot of traveling, but yeah, Maldives is next on the thing for me and my missus, no doubt.
Lovely. Last book that inspired you?
Last book that inspired me, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Oh, yes. Great one. Okay. I'm going to leave these two to the end, but these are the ones you're going to love. Okay. Boxers. All right. In history, who do you consider the fastest?
In history, the fastest.
Yeah. Who had the fastest hand?
Amir Khan. It's either Amir Khan, peak Amir Khan, or Roy Jones Jr. So off of that, then I would say the fastest hands, Roy Jones Jr.
Yes. Okay. Most skillful?
Most skillful boxer ever. I would say a man called Ricardo Lopez.
Oh, yeah. I remember going back a bit.
Yeah, Ricardo Lopez.
Okay. Now, similar, but I guess, there's a subtle difference here. Best technique.
Best technique?
Yeah.
Best technique. I would say Judge John Walcott, former heavyweight. Best technique is Charles. Sorry.
Charles.
Is Charles. Yeah.
Okay. Most powerful.
Most powerful. For me, I would say George Foreman.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. I think I know the answer to this one. For me, there can maybe only be one, but you might disagree. Best defense.
Best defense. Pernell Whitaker.
Pernell Whitaker.
Yeah, you were going to say Floyd Mayweather, right?
Well, I did. Yeah. Sweet pea. Yeah, that's a good shout. That's a good shout.
Ridiculous defense. Ridiculous defense.
Yeah. Best footwork.
Best footwork. Muhammad Ali.
Best boxing brain.
Best boxing brain. Maybe Gene Tunney, former heavyweight champion of the world, the fighting Marine. Really, I learn a lot by watching him. Gene Tunney, very clever man, very clever.
And the last one, see, this was, I knew we could get a lot of boxers in. Last one, best showman.
Best showman. That's easy. That's Muhammad Ali.
Yes. Okay. 2 more questions, and then I'm going to let you go. It's been fantastic tonight. Spencer Fearon, The Knowledge. What would the story of your life be called? Because you've not released an autobiography or a book yet, have you?
I'm going to write a book. We're in the process of it right now. Yeah, we are writing a book.
Oh well, can we get a sneak then? What will the story of your life be called, or what would it be called at the moment?
What would it be called? We'd have to think of that, or maybe it's like You Know Too Much. Maybe that one.
Yes. Okay. So what's next? That's it. What's next? Where are people going to sort of see you? What you up to?
What's next? I'm currently working with ESPN Plus. There's going to be some big developments going on with me with a major European TV network as well for boxing. I'm still pushing along with the Fight Is Right podcast. Myself and Babatunde Ajayi, we're getting fantastic numbers for that. So, like, really, really good numbers. It's like, I'm really grateful for people who listen to that. And I'm still doing the speaking engagements up and down the country. And I'm running as the local councillor for the Take the Initiative Party for, youth cultivation. So I'm running for that in May. And so that's going really, really well, to tell you the honest truth. So I'm grateful that loads of people have come out to support me while I'm doing that. So that's what I'm doing right now. And the major thing is like I've got something which is compelling in my heart to try and open up youth clubs, because it was essential when I was growing up as a kid, because they were working, and then all of a sudden they didn't have funding to keep these things going. And I think if we could get those things back, the youth centers, we can stop gang violence by doing these kind of things, because we'll have gangs, but they'll be called football teams. Or we'll have gangs, but they'll be table tennis teams. We'll have gangs, but they'll be pool table teams. We'll have gangs, but they'll be table tennis teams. So we can have gangs and we can end our rivalries through sport. So that's what I'm pushing forward to. Majorly pushing forward to.
Oh, noble pursuit. Absolutely
Thank
brilliant.
you very much, brother.
Yeah, well, all the very best with that. Thank you so much for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. Seriously, Graham, I really, really enjoyed this. 1 minute, 21, 1 hour, 21 minutes and 21 seconds. So therefore, that's something, man. That is, I love numerology. So therefore, I'm so grateful to be on your show, and I got to come back. And like I said, with my mother in the condition that she is in right now, so I'm a little bit somber. Usually, I'm way more hyped and everything else, but I'm a little bit more somber. But I so appreciate the fact that I've had to come on your show and to you know what I mean, and I really do wish you the best of success, my friend, because you're a good one.
Thank you very much. The feeling is mutual. Thank you so much, and all the love to your family.
Thank you very much.
Take care, and speak soon. And you're welcome to come back on here anytime.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed.
Take care. God bless, my friend. Thank
you, Spencer. Good night, and to everyone that's tuned in, thank you very much. Any final message for you, Spencer, before you go to tonight?
Any final? Seriously, I always say this: to spread love. No matter where, to spread love. You know what I mean? Spread love. Show appreciation to people. But the major thing is just to spread love. And you know what I mean, right about now, when we sit and think about, like, everybody's going through something, right? And nobody's what people are going through is bigger than your own, or vice versa, because everyone's going through something. So if you spread love, quite simple, you spread a smile, a handshake, help people. You know what I mean? You see someone doing something, just helps someone and give them a smile. And like, I'm telling you, your smiles, you will start getting way more smiles than the ones that you've given out.
Fantastic. Fine. What wise words, and what better way could we finish? Thank you so much indeed. Good night.
All right, bro. Take care. God bless.
All the very best. Thank you.